What's up, world, and welcome back to the Global Frequency. I am your host, Nefarious.
And I'm Frequency Girl.
And today we are joined by Dinale, here to tell us all about his creator-owned comic, Immortal Mask, now available on Dinale.com. And with him is none other than RJ Carter from Critical Blast. Gentlemen, welcome to the show!
Whoa!
Hello.
Nice intro. Thank you.
It's almost like he's been doing this for a while.
Yeah, just a little
once
bit.
or
Yeah,
twice,
just once or
you
twice.
know.
So, RJ, you've been here before. You know how this works. But, Brent, this is your first time, so let's get right down to it. I want to ask you guys a bunch of probing questions designed to delve deep into your personal past under the pretense of getting to know you a little bit better. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. So, first off, are you a native Gator or a transplant?
I'm a transplant.
Transplant. So where did you grow up?
Well, I started with Venezuela, and then I moved to Florida. So I've been there practically all my life.
I used to date a girl from Florida.
Yeah, not me.
No,
I'm
not
from
her.
No.
You didn't date any girls
when
before?
did
Okay.
yeah? Did you ever
No,
date
I
any girls from
didn't.
Florida, RJ?
No, never.
No, that's you can't count yourself lucky. They're
My
crazy.
best friend is from Florida.
Yeah, she's crazy too. So when did you first become interested in comics?
Since Spider-Man's were showing on televisions, and we're still in the pharmacies. Remember pharmacy racks, where the little comics racks were still there.
Yeah, I do. So you started picking comic books up at pharmacies, or we used to have them in supermarkets too. The little tiny spinner rack. Yep, that kind of setting. So what kind of comics did you read? You mentioned Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man was one of the majors. Batman, the X-Men. And then as I started growing older and able to move around, I started reading more old school comic books as well. Like Alex Raymond, Rip Kirby, the old comic strips from that Sunday Funnies is what as they would call them.
Yeah, you strike me as a kind of guy with interests that like go back to say like the Green Hornet, original series stuff like that. Especially like your taste in movies. You really seem to have like a Silver Age feel to what you want to do, like the detective mysteries. Are there any books on the stands right now that capture your interest?
Currently on the stands, nothing that comes to mind. I've been heavily focused on the Immortal Mask. That it's been pretty much time consuming these last couple of years.
So wait, you haven't read a comic book in years?
Practically, yeah. There's really nothing. Everything's been poured into this project, for what better or worse. For better, hopefully. But yeah, I think about 3 years ago, since I started this project, I haven't read any of the stands. The last couple of comic books I have been reading back when I was still using money set aside for comic books was Aquaman and Batman Beyond, that I was still collecting for a while, and then that kind of stopped after that. After those teams that I was enjoying left those, because they always rotate them, so they don't have a new McFarlane or whatever nonsense like that, and I just straight just focus on the Immortal Mask and start using all my comic book funds to make my own comic book.
Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So let's say hello to the chat real quick. We got Will coming in first. Will, two more times. And has
Get
Will
a
already won a
blanket.
blanket?
No, I don't
Will, you
think
need a
Will has
blanket,
already
my
won a
friend. It's
blanket.
nice and soft. Ask Shay. She'll tell you all about
Yeah.
it.
Or Mo.
We also got Mo Biggs. Mo's won a blanket. Mo
Your
won a
stickers
mug.
are on their way,
Mo
Mo.
won stickers. Mo lives on this channel, man.
Yeah.
Yes, earlier I said hello to Will, but I called him RJ because I was talking to
Accidentally.
you and looking at
Oh.
his
Yeah, you
his
didn't actually
icon.
put that up on
And
the
Mo said, I've actually made that mistake before. Their names and icons are kind of similar if you don't look closely at all. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Her voice here. He says, "Bring it. We intend to." We also got Infinity Comics. Thanks for tuning in and joining us. So let's get back to the interview. Was there a particular book then, Denali, that inspired you to try making one of your own?
Hey, COVID Kev.
Not necessarily. It was something that kind of been back in my mind for over the years as I started reading more and more comics, which became an on and off situations. I would, read it for a while and then go away for a while. And it just culminated, I guess, with a lot of culture wars that kind of made, you know what, instead of paying for my own books, let me write my own books and my own stories that I want to read and see how that goes. And that's kind of the impetus that came, is really telling my stories of what I grew up, what I learned, what I enjoyed comics, and putting it in a visual and form like that. So that's really what the impetus came from.
So you're mentioning talking about your own stories.
Hmm.
What do you think defines your love of the comic book medium? What is it about comic books specifically that makes you want to write those instead of, say, novels or movies or, what have you?
Those are different mediums that can you can jump into. I've read novels. I read uh, Penny's dreadful novels. I read the classics. I read really thick sci-fi, 1,000 pages novels, and up and down. Same thing with movies. We watch short movies, silent movies, uh, different movies all around. That you can conceive of. Experimental uh, art form
I mean,
movies.
personally, I just like
Yeah.
Avengers, and like Fast and the Furious and shit like that. I'm simple.
Right.
But yeah,
No.
what is it about comic books as a medium that
Right.
differs from
Right.
that
Right.
inspires you?
No, okay. What? So to cut to the chase, trying to put this in context, um, it's it's an art form that's very basic to human um, civilizations. I don't want to sound so grandiose, but that's really what it is. It's an art form that you're storytelling. I can tell by pictures, sequential pictures, and you can see it. It's a media unto itself that you can look at it and you can take it in your pace. It's each panel tells a story, and it is part of a larger story, visually.
Yeah, they say it goes back to cave paintings and Egyptian hieroglyphics. Garrett
Correct.
used to lecture me about that all the time, about like the original cave paintings, and like the handprints and the animals and the hunting and everything like that. How capturing moments in time with pictures tells that story that you don't even need words, right? And that
Correct.
sequential stories really boil down to those snapshots and how those snapshots get strung together. In a film, it's unfolding in time, but in comic books, like the currency that you have to tell the story is the page space. So yeah,
Correct.
that's a pretty good understanding of comics. I'll say you have right there.
Correct.
So, when did you start cultivating your skills as a writer?
And that's been ongoing since high school, where I had to write from, short essays to long researched.
Mo says
uh,
we can only speculate about the real meaning of cave paintings, or ask George Travlos. So yeah, he was around back then.
yes. But yeah, no, it's always been always had a passion for writing since high school, and I've written every forms that you can imagine, from research project that were 20 to 48 pages long, to short essays as long as 1 page situations. So it's really pushing forward everything I've been knowing. They always say write what you know, and this is what I'm kind of knowing from movies, from background, from history research. There's a lot of things that culminates into this.
Yeah, I'd agree with the whole write what you know. So, what kind of research have you had to do for Immortal Mask?
Um, I had to research Atlanta a lot, especially in the 70s, what sort of city it was at that time, what stories was there beforehand. There's a lot of interesting stories in Atlanta that it's not really showcased, in television or movies or whatnot. Reading Atlanta has its very own colorful um, history and past that will really surprise readers when they get to meet the city as well. So this is kind of like an introduction to Atlanta as well as an introduction to the Immortal Mask.
How many times have you visited Atlanta?
Atlanta, physically, I've visited about 3 times. Um, that's because we would have to go cut through Atlanta, um, and we would visit CNN, um, the Coke headquarters, Coca-Cola headquarters right there, and Chick-fil-A. And there was a couple others major places that are in Atlanta as well. And we also saw the largest Confederate mountain in the state as well, before crossing over to other places as well.
So, to
Um,
get like a real feel for the spirit of the city, what kind of research have you done, or what kind of like, you know, foot on pavement work have you done?
but
To really understand Atlanta, you go north on Peachtree, and then you turn west on Peachtree, and then you
yes,
turn east on Peachtree. You go down
the
Peachtree
five
3 miles.
boroughs. Yeah, the
Yeah.
5 boroughs. Yeah.
趣味そうだね。
Yeah, yeah. He's crazy too.
I'm sorry, Denali, I interrupted you. You take it.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Yeah, go. I'm good.
So, is this the first book that you've written? The first script you've written? You mentioned that like you've been cultivating your skills as an author, but is this
Right.
the first time you're being self-published?
Yes, this is my first self-published book. 3 books, actually. 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, three. Yep, all three. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So, you were making the rounds back in the summer of 2020, promoting the upcoming crowdfunding campaign for the
Right.
Immortal Mask, but
Right.
that never manifested. Right? What happened?
Correct. Several factors. Uh, First of all, wasn't liking the whole um, crowdfunding campaigns, mostly because I saw a lot of gatekeeping happening with the people who run the crowdfunders platforms, and then also timing issues, changes in distribution, and also publishing factors as well. Because there was part of self-publishing is also knowing what the cost of printers are going to be, what the cost of transportation and logistics is going to be, when the crowds are going to be interested in everything. And I kind of decided after watching a lot of campaigns, those that succeeded and those that failed, I felt like, no, you know what, there let me build my foundation first, and let me build my own platform, my website, and just self-publish through there. You just connect directly to me, you get it through me, and there's no questions about it. You don't have to jump over all these hoops. And when I'm ready, I'm not timed when I have to campaign 60 days or 30 days, and if I don't meet that goals, it's either refunded, and then customers are not going to be waiting. Oh, am I going to get my books? When am I going to get my books? You go, I put it up on the website. Here's the book. Here's it now. You pay it, and the fastest customer has told me they got it has been 6 days.
That's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
you founded Denali 4 years ago when you
Hmm.
started developing Immortal Mask, right? And you have written and released 3 books since then. What else has Denali's done in that time?
In that time, um, as to the comics, it's just been working on these 3 books so far. Unfortunately, for me, I'm doing my daytime work, and then that's funding my nighttime work, which is Denali's.
Yep. Everyone's
And
got a hustle, according to Karen
e-
Cole.
exactly. So basically, all I basically been doing right now has been streaming Monday to Fridays with
What channel have you been on?
George Peter Gatsis. I was originally with Fanspeak for a while, and then I'm now with George Peter Gatsis, and we're doing it Monday through Fridays. At doing a streaming Monday, Fridays, and Saturday. We're doing 2 streams because those are the movie nights. So at 9 o'clock, we
Right.
do movie night for the 30s, where we try to roast those, and then followed by the news of the days, which we typically try to do an hour, but we so far because the news has been going crazier and crazier, it's been moving us to an hour and a half most cases
Yeah,
lately.
you were pretty regular on Chester Busby's channel back in 2019 when you
Yeah.
began gearing up to launch the Immortal Mask
Hmm.
in March of 2020, and you
Hmm.
made some appearances on like RJ's show
Yeah.
Critical Blast, Peter
Hmm.
Cimetti, Comic Book Bob, to name a few. But then you kind of like just disappeared
Right.
until 2021.
Yeah.
What was the disappearance due to?
Um, Real life, I work in the medical industries, so that consumed me completely.
And
And
you're
then,
back now streaming 7 days a week. Do you still work in the medical industry?
yes, so
So what's
that's
different
how
now?
things calm down compared to what happened then. And
I mean,
now,
we did get COVID in 2020, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
and you
we
still
didn't, but
and there was COVID in 2021 as well.
Yep.
So it was really more focusing on keeping my job and keeping doing this. So it kind of everything else had to stop. That wasn't conducive for me to keep living on. So, on
So
yeah,
the
you only have so many hours in
yeah,
a
it's
day.
true. You always so
mhm,
many bits or spoons or
Yep.
whatever people want to call them. They you can only focus on so much. And I gotta say, like, being in the medical field during COVID probably was incredibly exhausting, trying. You didn't know if you were keeping your job, if you were vaccinated, unvaccinated, that whole madness. I don't even want to imagine having to deal with that. But that being said,
mhm.
I understand that it wasn't the right time for you to launch your campaign, and that because you've said several times on other shows that it's important to understand the logistics and planning of the campaign and everything, and that you'd worked out printing and you'd worked out your schedule for fulfillment and everything. And you just said here that it wasn't the right time to crowdfund. What factors do you say, like specifically, what factors led to you pulling the plug on the crowdfunding campaign?
Inflation, that's number one.
In
Number two,
2020?
yes, because unlike most people, I've been looking at the logistic. We did you know in 2020 we pulled the plug into the international trade agreements for shipping, so that raised the cost of all the shipping across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that was one of the factors. Number two, because of COVID being a novel thing that caused disruption through all the ports, meaning that the cost of custom has a double or triple at that time just from the beginning. We didn't know, by the time I finished a campaign, how much would that cost. There's a lot of issues where a
When did
campaigner,
you start selling the book on the website?
the book on the website started this past August.
So when was the book done?
The book was done about, I want to say, about May.
Of this
So
year.
this year, correct.
So the reason you pulled the campaign was because it wasn't done.
No, the reason why I pulled the campaign was because of other factors as well, which would be artists.
Oh, okay.
And
So tell me about the team behind the book.
Well, all the rest of the teams are behind NDA. So what I could say is, I wasn't. There's some individuals I wasn't satisfied that weren't able to follow my direction, and they would have to be let go, and I would have to start from scratch again um, until I came comfortable with the team that I have. And
Is that
because
why you
I
weren't showing art early on?
correct.
That's also why we don't have art on the website now.
Actually, everything that you see in the background of what you have in the cover, that's interior art.
Yeah, I mean, RJ has the books, so we
Yeah,
know that they're done. He's read the
right,
books, he's got them
right.
sitting in his warehouse. I'm just wondering, like,
Hmm.
why we don't get more pages to consume with our eyes. Like the ad there, what's
Hmm.
on the website. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's interior art, but I don't get to look at it. It's slanted, it's on an angle, and it's really small. You know what I mean?
All
Like
right.
on most crowdfunding campaigns, you get pages that you can examine and be really take them in and be like, "Oh, this looks great. Yeah, I want to back this." With what we've got, we have 3 covers on the website, one page, one vertical scroll, and very little information other than that. So when you were originally doing the rounds for this
Hmm.
campaign, you weren't showing a lot of art. Is that because of the changes in the team, or did you just not have the art, or what was going on?
Some of it were changes in the team. Some of them was I wasn't, they weren't ready to be shown off, which was one of the things I did say at the beginning of those time 3 years ago, where I said, uh, when it's ready, I'll show them off.
Mm-hmm.
And then right now, basically, I am showing them off with the covers slanted. I also am putting up 10 pages, 1 page a week in webtoons, and
Oh,
so yeah,
awesome. Let's go
so
look at that.
the first page is up, and every Sunday I'll be publishing another page that's up to 10 pages. So everybody who wants to do the immortal, check out the Immortal Mask and check out the first 10 pages. I'll be publishing just the 1 page every week until 10 pages are up.
Mobig says, allow me to use an analogy. His
Mhm.
books are the Louisiana woman.
There it is.
His customers are the Mississippi man. Crowdfunding sites are like the Mississippi River, which he will not allow to keep them apart.
Thanks, Mo. I'm going to have Loretta and Conway in my head all night now.
Good job.
I also want to say hi to Rain Radio. Hello, JP.
I'm just gonna show it off for a minute here because this is the first time that I'm
Hi, Al Pacino.
seeing more. Here we go. Let's get a look here. So this really does look like old school comic strip stuff that you
Yeah.
get, in the back of a newspaper.
I'm gonna pull the muscle. It's very cool.
I'd like to throw one other piece of information in here, too. One of the things that Denali's doing is going to be, I predict, very, very groundbreaking for all of independent comics. And it's not because of the direct sales, but it's because of who he went to for printing. Um, this is something that this printer has never really done before to do comics. They're also doing full color comics. He went through Ingram Spark. And if you're familiar with Ingram,
Yep.
The
Yeah.
Barnes and Nobles. Yep.
Yeah.
Barnes and Nobles, Amazon,
Everybody.
Walmart.com. If you got a brick and mortar store, that's who they order from, is through Ingram's. Secondarily, Ingram's is a global company. They have their own printing plants across the world. So if you have a crowdfunder and you're using them as your printer, you
They
have
print locally.
40 or so
That's-
customers in Australia, they'll print them in Australia.
This is one of the things I was going to ask. This kind of looks like it's POD, or at least looks like it could be POD. Do you have plans to take it print on demand, or is RJ going to be doing the fulfillment solely on his end?
Well, he's going to be distributing and sending the things in there. So once the orders, the merchandise he has on hands are out, I'll order more and it'll be sent out. So yes, it has the potential of being print on demand.
Yeah, it's not the distribution button on Ingram Spark has not been clicked over. So Denali is the only one who can order and place that order. But yeah, I mean, that's what people are going to end up doing in the future. They're going to do their crowd funds. They're going to collect their money. They're then going to submit a new cover, drop their price down to $3.99, turn on the distribution button, and they're going to be distributed
Right.
everywhere.
Drop all of the add-ons, drop all of the extra merch, do a a commercial copy versus a prestige copy. We're already setting up.
Yeah, Tyler was talking
Exactly.
about that when we were
Who
on
was
his
talking
show.
to Tyler about that?
Well,
But yeah, he was
and
at he
when
was
we were on his show, like
he was originally
Yeah.
talking to us about the idea of going print on demand overseas, finding outlets that are going to be able to print the book and translate. It's one of the reasons we're talking to Global Comics. The idea of like getting worldwide distribution without having to go through specific shipping chains or individual distributors, getting things printed locally in other countries and distributed from the printer in that country by doing a translated, scaled down, slimmed down version of that, as opposed to the prestige version that you get in crowdfunding with all of the additional doodads that everyone throws in their drawer anyway, right?
Exactly.
I
And
like
Ingram's
all
going to be a
the
leader in
doodads,
that, I
yeah.
predict.
Absolutely. They also do all of the digital. If you're going to put it in Barnes and Nobles and order it directly through Barnes and Nobles, then you have to go through Ingram. You have to register with them.
Lovik says, you have nothing to lose
But your shipping chains. That's a good point. So
Hey, wait a second.
you were very logical.
I was just like, wait, I don't like that game.
Well, I mean, we don't want to put RJ out of business or anything. Like we want to use RJ in every capacity that we can, right? That sounds gross.
I've
I
been
mean,
there, though. You
yeah.
do what you got to do.
But yeah, print on demand is
I don't
as
think
good
I-
as basic traditional printing. It's just like you said, supply chain. So that's why I'm not.
Well, there's
I'm
stuff that
using-
POD can't do. There's extra cover finishes that POD can't do. There's custom sizing that POD can't do.
Yeah,
There's
that's right.
paper, weight, and interior finish that it can't do. So there are a lot of like little things that separate a prestige version of a book from a more commercial version. But the nice thing about a commercial version is you could sell it for like a quarter to a third of the price. So a book like yours, $20 book that comes out, it's super cheap to print that, instead of looking at $3.80 to $5 or $6 for the the book, depending upon the size and the proportions. You're looking at like under $1, so the overhead gets cut down significantly, which means you can sell it for less.
Lovik says, RJ is great, but his local postman has a vendetta against him.
Yeah, I would
It's not my
understand.
local postman. It's your local postman. My
Will you
local
go and
postman all the time.
it's true. How long did Mo wait for his copy of The Embrace?
Oh, months, I think.
Hey,
It was
we've
like
got
the
one-
last
Arvid
one
with
to be
us. What's
delivered.
up, Crowfire Studios? Thanks so much for hanging out.
Also have delicate art. Snuck in and said hello. Good
Back for
evening.
more of that sweet crunk. We gonna
That's
get
what Crowfire
crunk up
said,
in here.
not-
Yeah.
not delicate.
Well, I mean, maybe she's here for the.
I apologize to anyone who can hear my stomach rumbling.
That's okay. She just got back from the gym. So you were very vocal about planning the logistics from your crowdfunding campaign early on, managing the budget, preparing your printer and stuff like that. RJ said he's got quite a few of these books sitting around waiting to be sent out. And you said the
Small
the
first
soonest. What's that?
Small first shipment. We
Yeah.
Yeah.
deplete those, replenish.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now, how many people have you fulfilled to so far?
Oh, I don't keep count.
Yes.
He sends me something every week.
Yeah.
And, I just box them up. They
Yeah.
go out with everybody else's
I mean,
campaign.
I keep count. It's just makes
Oh.
me
Yeah.
concerned. But I only have one book. You've got dozens.
I get paid up front, so I don't have to worry about what I'm owed.
So, do you plan to crowdfund any of this, or are you just going to keep selling off the website?
Well, right now, it depends on what happens in the future. I try not to figure out. Well, I do try to figure out what my next steps are. But for right now, it's selling off on the website. It's the most secure method possible. I don't have to worry about anything else happening, and the least costly.
Kickstarter's not going to say that you're a bad person and kick you off. Indiegogo's not going to say give us 7%.
Yeah,
It's your story. You're the only one who can kick you off.
exactly.
Well, I mean Cloudflare, but
Well,
we're not
Well-
going to get into that, right?
And then, and I don't have to be bogged down with anything else.
No, it's YouTube. Just give me the website.
And yes, in my
Oh, crap.
website,
Open it up.
in my website, is in cloud.
This is it right here.
direct store.
Right. So, let's talk about the website a little bit. All right.
Sure.
If you're not going to offer the books through Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
or in digital format in their entirety, I think that the idea to go through Webtoon and release individual pages is a great idea, even though it's not formatted for vertical scrolling, which is what everyone on Webtoon wants. They want that like vertical scrolling experience to read comic books, which I fucking hate because it's not comics. It's not. It's like
Right.
you're reading it in the wrong
has a
direction.
vendetta against
You're not going left to right and examining the frames, and it's just wrong. It's wrong.
Movig says GoFundMo is so secure. Even
Even
the
the-
servers dedicated to it
Can't find
it.
But if you're not going to be offering digital copies
Yeah.
of this, right, and you're going to be selling it off of your website entirely,
Yes.
shouldn't the site be as eye-popping as possible?
This is old school format with an old school taste.
Old school like MySpace?
I'm from that generation.
Yeah, me too.
No bells. I let the work speak for itself.
So we're going golden age with the digital presentation here.
So golden age that the book is actually golden age size. I had to order golden age bags and
Yeah.
boards to make them fit the book.
Yeah, those are incredibly
scroll-
infuriating
yeah,
when you have a
and scroll
when you have
down,
an
please.
off-brand size. Yep.
Yeah.
When you have something that's like a non-traditional comic size. In that case, when did you make the website?
The website I had for years.
Okay, so for 4 years, since like the inception of Dinale's as a company was back in the late 2019. It was like July of 2019, and you established the website right around that time, and then you started selling the comic book recently.
August. Yes.
In August, and all 3 books. You've done all 3. So in the time that we had for like COVID and everything being shut down, you completed 3 books.
Correct.
That's awesome, man. That's a lot of work. But you
How
didn't
many
consider
pages are each of the
selling any of
books?
these during that time?
No.
It's 48
I-
pages.
Each of them 48 pages each. Yep.
Because of shipping.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and because I want to do it in my own time, so I'm not obliged to change to sell it when I have to. I just sell it when I want to.
Well, I mean, RJ is the one that's going to be fulfilling, right? So, like, you
Yeah, but
make
I'm
a
not selling.
sale,
But-
it
but
electronically notifies him. And
But an honest question would be, no, there was a lot of work to be done and a lot of polishing to be done. And each of these panels, every panel in each of these books had to be scrutinized. I went through them with a fine-tuned comb and looked at them if I was satisfied with them, if I needed them to be adjusted. So all of them, every panel and every line in this book has been worked on.
so you've previewed and edited everything in this book.
Correct. These 3 books.
But how long has it been since you updated the website? Now, the reason I'm asking this is that as an online marketer, as someone who like markets things online, you're trying to cultivate a following, right? That's why you're doing live streams 7 days a week, watching old movies, doing all of that. But the website isn't you. The website is what the traffic is being filtered to. You know, you're advertising things out there. You're trying to bring people to the website so that they can interact with it and purchase the book because they get thrilled by what they see. When was the last time the page was updated?
The pages were updated back in July, August.
Okay. So this year, July and August. That was when the book itself went up for sale.
Yes. And we've been streaming for the last 2 years on George's channel of the Immortal Mask with the trailers, which was included on the website as well.
Yeah, I think I saw the trailer back in 2019, 2020. Did you have something that you wanted to share off of this? We got Ollie with us.
Hi, Ollie.
We got Delicate saying, so you said you don't do crowdfunding. Would you say just selling comics like this is an alternative for creators? I have always been so scared to do crowdfunding myself. So how would you answer that question?
Well,
Um,
my answer
if
would be that the crowdfunding is the alternative. They've always sold them direct before.
correct, and this takes a lot of foundational work as well.
What do you mean?
So, well, you can't jump into it. A lot of mistakes that I see crowdfunders do is, oh, here's 3 pages. You put it on the web pages. They do the crowdfunding. Things change, and now those 3 pages that they were sold before are in the same 3 pages that you get in the book.
Seen it happen. Florida Man.
Can you give me an example?
Florida Man for one.
Yeah, but would you
RJ
say that
mentioned.
that's the norm or
Yeah,
the
would you
exception?
say that? Well, I mean, Florida Man's.
Well, I mean, it's
a
always
while
the
back,
exception,
right?
but
Florida Man is the exception, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Florida Man stretches a while back to 2020. What was the last thing you backed?
Last thing I backed, um, Jack Kirby's documentary DVD and table book.
Where'd you get that?
Glenn,
Huh?
Glenn
said
Embry.
Where'd you get that? What platform?
That was an Indiegogo.
Okay. And when they fulfilled it, when they delivered it, how similar to the campaign page was it?
Oh, it was very similar because it was a simple thing. It was a documentary and it was a tabletop
Right.
table thing. Yeah,
Right, it's a table book.
yeah,
So
table book.
when you're
There was
when you're
there,
talking about crowdfunding campaigns not being able to deliver what's being presented on the campaign page, are you talking about creator owned comics that are crowdfunded, or are you just talking about crowdfunding in general? Like, you mentioned Florida Man, so what's
yeah,
the most recent thing that you've backed of that type?
of that type. There's
Yeah,
nothing. That was more in general that I was speaking, and like I mentioned again, I haven't backed anything recent because all of my funds
gotcha.
were going into the Immortal Mask.
You just
Um,
got a Jack Kirby table book.
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yep.
So, what about security on websites? Security is kind of a big concern for a lot of people.
hmm
Crowdfunding campaigns take place on the crowdfunding platforms. Most crowdfunding platforms don't use PayPal or any other
PayPal
e-commerce
is secured.
site. What's that?
PayPal is secured.
Yeah, I'm not talking about PayPal not being secure. I'm talking about the
That's
reason that they.
that's the answer to your question to my website. I don't collect
Yeah,
your information; it goes through PayPal.
yeah, but your website's not secure. You're missing a security certificate in the upper left-hand corner.
You click on that. That takes you to PayPal. You pay through PayPal. That is secure.
Yeah, I know PayPal is secure. I'm saying that the website specifically
It's
itself, if you look at the.
not needed for my website since it's just graphic. It doesn't collect any of your data. It goes through
Okay.
PayPal.
That's the same with my website. I don't do any of the business through my website. That's just presenting reviews and stories and stuff. So, there's no certificate on that one either.
So you just let the certificate lapse.
I let my certificate lapse.
Okay.
I was paying too much for it and not getting anything out of it because I wasn't doing anything that needed it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just that, when people go there and they see one page and it asks for you to purchase books, that
Yes.
takes you to a page to order the books, to order them through PayPal,
PayPal.
sure, but you
Yeah.
are,
Pay
you are entering that information
through PayPal.
into PayPal, right?
Through PayPal.
So PayPal's sending it to your address and everything, but you've got one page with a lapsed
Right.
certificate on something
There's
where you are doing e-commerce.
there's
It's a
no
concern.
there's no lapse
Some people may see the
certificate.
not secure and
Yeah.
and
Yeah. But when you
Yeah.
click on the buy now here, the very first thing you're going to see is that lock icon on your URL.
Exactly.
yeah, but it's not going to show up on StreamYard. Isn't sharing that part of my computer, so we can't show that to people.
Right. So it goes
Right.
straight to PayPal. You can
Correct.
check out through here.
Oh, it
Yes.
That's where your information is
Well, I
held.
can
It's
switch
not
to
Correct.
going
other
through. You're not checking out through the website. The
No.
reason I'm suggesting, like people be thoughtful about that is that we heard a lot of creators who want to create like a alternative crowdfunding website where you do process information, you enter your address, and you put a credit card on file, because if it's crowdfunding, you can't use PayPal. The reason being that PayPal doesn't take pre-orders. You can't do a pre-order through PayPal. You can only do that through a credit card. So the reason I'm talking about this specifically is that the average moron going to your page isn't going to understand this crap. They're going to look at it and they're going to say, I don't see a lot of information here. I see someone asking me to buy a book, to click checkout with PayPal, and there's really nothing beyond this one page here telling me about the book. The about section is very brief. The contact section lists a P.O. box. So I'm just saying that the website itself doesn't feel very inviting. You know, the security certificate is lapsed. It doesn't seem very inviting. It doesn't seem very
it's not
forthcoming.
lapsed. That's a misconception. There's no lapse security.
It was never there to begin with.
There was never one to begin with.
Oh, okay. So you never had a security certificate.
Correct. Because there's no point having a certificate if there's no information.
Because you're not entering any information. I get that. But how many retards in South America do you think get that?
Or
this retard understands.
Or anywhere else. I'm just throwing it out there. How many shoppers on the internet understand exactly how this stuff works? You're a very erudite individual, right?
Right.
So you must be sympathetic for people who don't understand the world to the degree that you do.
It's not my problem.
You're dealing with the lowest common denominator.
It's not my problem.
You're selling a book. It is your problem.
Yeah, I'm selling a book, but if they don't feel comfortable, I can't help that. But I can say, when you go to purchase my book, it'll go, whether using credit card or using PayPal, it'll be processed by PayPal. Everything will be processed through PayPal. That's why people, when they're trying to do an alternative website and they try to process it, they need the security because they themselves are trying to process it. In this case, PayPal handles it all. So nothing is stored on the website. There's nothing. All you see here is just the graphics that has the information, and everything is through PayPal.
Right. I don't disagree with that. Is the truth of the matter. That is how it is. That is accurate, and that is the way the world works. I'm saying there are people who don't understand that. That's all.
Okay.
And
there's a lot of things.
You want their money. So we've been talking about the Immortal Mask, but we haven't talked about the book itself. Why don't you give me the pitch? What's the setting? Who's the character? Let's start there.
Okay. So the Immortal Mask is a 1970 crime noir thriller following a down on his luck reporter who's given a Covenant interview with a death row inmate. What he learns from that interview will set him against the Atlanta's shadowy underworld, where he'll have to use his military training to survive for the information that could possibly topple the ruling class in the city. The setting is Atlanta, set in 1947, following with this era's Immortal Mask. The Immortal Mask is an ancient relic from the times of the Egyptians. That's passed down kind of like the phantom from teacher to student. And now we're following Benji, which is the reporter, as he becomes acquainted with the Immortal Mask, and he has to deal with the evil of his world.
And so you mentioned like the ruling class of the city. Are those the antagonists?
Yes.
Tell me about them.
That's you're gonna have to read and find out.
Oh, you're not going to tell me who the bad guys are?
It's a crime noir thriller.
All right. So what about the central conflict then? Like, what's he up against?
He's off against misdirection. You think about the Bourne Identity. Think about 3 Days of the Concord. Information is what the conquest is of the day.
And so what's at stake then?
A
Is it
life
like
of
the
a,
Born Identity, where it's like threat of the world or his freedom, or what are the stakes here?
the stake is the life of a person.
So there's one person that's in jeopardy here, and that the Immortal Mask is trying to save them from
Cor-
these shadowy, this shadowy cabal of people.
Correct.
So you want to play the trailer?
Yes, it wasn't downloading before, so I have to begin it.
The one at the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Don't forget to share with sound, right?
I am sharing
Okay.
with sound.
So the last thing we want is a silent trailer.
Hey, it works.
Okay, hold on. Oh, no. What happened?
I don't know. This is your technology.
Yeah, I'm...
There you go. Hit play. I guess then, like, part of the motif of the book is for it to be mysterious, but it does look like a really well presented trailer. The character moves through. You have the specific details about the book. It's nice and tight. I haven't seen.
Auto replay.
But I haven't seen a lot of marketing for the book. Are you planning to share it around, I guess, other channels? I don't mean like YouTube channels. I mean like other ways, other venues, other avenues of marketing.
Yes. We are starting the marketing for this.
Where are you running ads?
Right now, those are to be determined at the moment, but we are working on that. This
Okay.
is just the beginning push for it.
So you're going to be running ads. Not quite sure yet where. I'd suggest Taboola. That's really good. It's a lot better than Facebook ads. If you're just starting out, hit up Taboola. You got a lot of results for the money that you're going to invest, because Facebook ads just get progressively more expensive and they don't actually do that much for you. So if you haven't looked into it yet, I'd suggest hitting that up first. But I think it's really useful to get the word out in other ways other than just kind of hitting up YouTube channels, hitting up YouTube shows, because there's a whole wide world out there beyond Twitter, beyond YouTube, where a whole bunch of people don't know about our books, right? And we're trying to reach them, and we're trying to broaden the audience, expand our readership. So we all have to have kind of a plan in place to take an approach that is going to draw more eyes to the product.
Cofire Studio says, like that music, where did you get it?
I can't, to be honest, I can't
Music
remember.
really gets me in the mood to set up Windows 95. It's fair. It's fair. Old school.
Yeah.
Old school.
Oh, RJ, you're
You're me.
not talking. You're muted.
Thank
I don't know what's going on. Nope. Now
People
you.
said that I didn't echo
That was me.
There
That
we
was
go.
me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I had to make
It was.
Alright.
I actually hit the thumb button on the mic this time, not the StreamYard
Oh.
stuff. One of the things I want to bring up is somebody who's actually holding the book and is looking through it. You actually get 4 comic books with the 3 books, because the Immortal Mask being a character that is
Okay.
generational, passed down, a mantle passing. The first page of each of these books is actually 9 pages of the silent movie 1930s Immortal Mask. So you can see they're done as panels, but those panels are in panels. So there's actually 9 pages here in each of the 3 books. So it's a 27-page extra story you get of the 1930s golden age, if you will, Immortal Mask, and tells a little bit about the events that led up to the 1970s Immortal Mask that you're going to be reading about. The artwork on the pages is like you said, it's Alex Raymond's style, and you're not going to get a single splash page of any kind until deep into the second issue. And when you do get that splash page, just a level of detail of everything in there. It's a very crowded splash page.
Why
Everything
choose
else-
to do the book just black and white? Why no midtones? Why no grayscale? Why no screen print?
Because this is a old school format, and it's really a homage to the old Spider-Man newspapers.
I mean, yeah, they didn't really have those techniques back then, or they weren't using them really back then. It was mostly just ink and white.
Mm-hmm.
But like the strips, the cool thing about the strip is that it was one linear, strip where you had a series of panels, and you didn't have to navigate a page or multiple pages of a book. You just got that one, it hit and then you were gone. It was done, right?
Well, you have 3 strips per page.
What do you mean?
So you're talking about basically strips that you're talking about. Well, if you look
Yeah.
at the page, you can cut them up into three strips. This book is story density.
Right. What I'm saying is that the individual strips, they were one linear narrative.
Yes.
And they ended. This is a continuing narrative. You have to maintain the flow. And I
Well-
appreciate the clarity of the page here.
Yeah.
I really do. Like
Yeah.
the 9 grade is very clear. The readability is there. The bubbles pop out just a little bit, which is a nice touch because it drags the eye from one panel to the next following the word balloons. I appreciate that. That's a nice touch. It's just that for me, and this is a taste thing, I guess. Ever since I encountered that mid-tone, I really feel that adds that layer of texture necessary to separate foreground and background shapes. What?
Mobig says, I like the way the rich grayscale silent film motif contrasts with the more modern black and white line.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So there's really no distinction of what you're talking about. It's basically the same thing as the newspaper. It's 3 strips on each page. So
And the strips that Denali's talking, I think you guys are talking about different strips. Yeah, a lot of strips where you read the 3-panel, 4-panel strip and it was done. But you look at things like the Flash Gordon strips. That was a continuing story, paper to paper to paper to paper to paper. And what Denali is saying is like, you take 3 of those strips and stack them. Now you've got a page of this book.
yeah, exactly.
Right. I completely understand that. That makes total sense to me. When I encountered comic strips, it could be that my experience of the comic, the 1940s and 50s comic strip format isn't as thoroughly developed or articulated as yours. But when I encountered comic strips like Calvin and Hobbes, I
That's
have
not
3
on the-
panels, or
that's-
what was the name of the?
But
what
on
was the
That's
name
not
of
Sundays,
the?
that's
uh,
not a
color.
1940s. That's not a 1940s.
Yeah, no, that's
strip.
why I'm
Well,
saying.
he wasn't alive in the 1940s, so it
Exactly.
was a little hard to get a hold of those.
I mean, no,
original
he's
papers.
gone back and read those. But what was the other ones, like the Wizard and the other ones in the back of the paper? You know what I mean?
Well,
they had
think of
Spider-Man
Prince.
in the back
Think
of
of
the paper.
Prince. Well, think of Prince Valiant. That's a continuing strip.
Yeah,
Guild
I
Four,
really
Rex
wasn't
Morgan,
interested
MD.
in Prince Valiant. It
I
didn't
only
it didn't
read
grab
them
my
on
attention. But
Sundays.
the point that
Yeah.
I'm trying to make is that yes, RJ, you're right. You'd read a Spider-Man or a Flash Gordon strip, and it would go continuing to the next paper. But it wasn't 3 panels on
Tarzan.
top of 3 panels on top of 3 panels for several pages in a row. At least that wasn't my experience of it. In a
Mine's
comic strip
developed.
format, I'd have a bit, and then I'd have to get the next paper and continue reading, right? Or am I wrong?
Well, there's the Tarzan strip that did the same similar things. So it's real. I guess it's really what you said is up to your taste. But my story is developed because I don't really need to be totally 100% 40s. I do have to. I do have the little luxury of using having the more polished techniques, but it does have the old school flair to it.
Yeah, I can see, what you're talking about. Hey, we got Miss Good Stuff with us. Thanks for tuning in, Miss Good Stuff. Black and white newspaper comics are a waste of silly putty.
I've done that.
I liked that. I liked getting, and then distorting the panel with my silly putty.
I just want to scan these pages and put them in paint and start filling things in, just coloring it.
No, that would ruin the aesthetic and the motif, right?
Maybe, but look at the cover.
Yeah. Great art, Dinale. Are you the artist? And
I'm the
no,
writer.
I do not believe you are.
No, I'm the writer and creator of the Immortal Mask. Paid somebody else to draw these panels for me.
Who did you get to edit?
Who did you get to draw?
I mean, that's a good question, right? Apparently, it's been like a couple different people, but
yeah.
Good day.
Well, all of them are under NDAs, so
you can't tell us who they are?
My team edited. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, you had to sign the
Kind of like when
NDA
you
that
get
wouldn't
coloration
tell
by
me?
the whatever the group is that Image hires. It's colored by the team. This one's drawn by the team.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Wait, I'm confused. They made you sign an NDA saying that you wouldn't tell anyone.
No,
Their name?
I had them sign an NDA. So
For what though? Like, what can't they disclose? An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. They can't. That's usually
Right.
for like.
Look, Frequency Girl. We all know you can't NDA
An NDA.
So
Every
let's
time
just
it
leave
says
it
NDA,
there.
that's all
right?
that goes in my head.
Yes.
Well, but that's usually for like talking about plot and stuff like that. So I don't understand how an NDA means that you can't say who the artist is. If you had them sign it, that means they can't talk about the project without your permission.
Right. And that can't be disclosed for all business. So this NDA is for all business, including
Who the artist
their
is.
name. Yeah, exactly.
Right, but
Let it go.
Okay.
We're
Yes.
gonna end the show. It's been a good show. Before we send Fowler the link, we're
Here,
gonna
Jack Press.
we're gonna prepare. I know I've signed a lot of NDAs. I've learned to treat them as gentle suggestions. I appreciate that, Arvid.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to tell the audience before we take off tonight?
Yes, go back to the website. I refreshed the page. There should be 2 pages up on the bottom.
My computer stuff. I hit refresh, but
I see them.
All the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
You might have to hit the reload if you've got cache.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Oh, nice. That should be very helpful for people. I agree. I think that's a great idea.
I didn't know you were going to change the page. If I'd have known that, I'd said, hey, why don't you just put checkout securely at PayPal right on top of the PayPal button? And nobody would worry about asking that question again.
Yeah. Movig says, some of the panels look cool in black and white, but those splash pages looked hard to focus on.
There's
only one
happens
splash
when
page.
you're doing,
Only one
detail
splash
work
page.
Like that.
Yeah. Well, technically 2, I believe.
I haven't got to the second one yet, but
Yeah.
they're rare.
Yes.
So that's going to be it for us tonight, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like. It really helps us out with the algorithm. And if you would like, please subscribe. It makes Freq Girl really happy.
It does.
Makes me miserable. So if you want to see me unhappy, then please subscribe. And don't forget to click the notifications so you know when we go live next.
And tune into the frequency.
See you next time.